Hey guys, Mr. V over here, doing a book review today for Billy Summers by Stephen King. Before I get into my book review, I want you to know that I try to do a spoiler-free book review, so let's get into the book review for Billy Summers. The main premise for this is that Billy Summers is a hired assassin, a hitman, and he's going to do his last job. Because after this, he is done. But as you can imagine, the last job becomes a lot more complicated. So that is the main premise for Billy Summers. Before you consider this book, I want you to know this is not Stephen King's typical type of book. It's not a horror book. It is actually a crime fiction book. But he still does a great job with that. I don't want you guys to be worried about that because he still does a great job because this is a very well written book with strong characters and intriguing plot, which I'll get into in just a bit. But Stephen King, he's just a great writer. And just from the beginning, he just has a great start to this book because the book flows so easily. As soon as I started the book, it was just easy to get into it. It was easy to get into the story about who Billy Summers is. And, he's a hitman doing his last job, but he just reveals so much very quickly. And it just flows very smoothly right from the beginning. And I just became interested in the book immediately. And all of a sudden, you're just on page 100. And you don't even realize it. You already got through 100 pages. And it's just, again, he does a great job of writing it. Just the way he develops the characters, because he has very strong characters in this book. And not only does he have strong characters in the book, but he has a strong, he just develops characters very well. A great character development. Because you feel like you know the characters from the beginning. As soon as he introduces some characters, you feel like you know them already. But he continues to build those characters more throughout the whole story. And he keeps building the characters until the very end of the book even. And that way you really get to know the characters. And for this book, it was a great thing because, as I said earlier, he had very strong characters. Now, he does have a lot of characters in this book, but I never felt confused when he was doing that. Sometimes he has a lot of characters, and I get confused about characters, but this one, I never got confused about who was who. And I think it's because he built the characters very well, and each one was very unique in their own way, and you just know who the characters are. Another thing that helped in the book, though, despite having so many characters, sometimes when a character would come back, he would quickly say who the character is again, almost a reminder. Billy Summers would kind of remind you of who this character was. And that helps because sometimes if you go 40 or 50 pages without seeing a character, then he comes back. It helps to have a slight reminder of who that person was. So I think that helped a lot. And that's why despite him having a lot of characters, I felt they were very strong characters. And, I never struggled with that. But the strong characters, I think, make the story very interesting. Because, as I said, he develops the characters, but he continues to develop the story and the situations, and he just does a great job. He has great suspense throughout the book, and he also throws in some major plot twists, which is always great. People who know Stephen King can know that he can do that, and he throws in some major plot twists and makes you wonder what will happen. Because you kept debating which way the story will go as you continue to read, and he throws in a twist, and you just wonder where it will go. And I even kept wondering, how is it going to end? Until literally the last page, I was wondering how the story was going to end. And I just felt that he just did an amazing job holding the suspense throughout the whole book, which, I thought that was really good. And I think something that helped in the book was that you feel emotion throughout the book. Because you don't think in this type of story that you'd feel emotion for the hitman, Billy Summers is a hitman. You don't think you'd feel emotion, but you did feel a little bit of emotion when reading it. And I think Stephen King did a great job of building that emotion for Billy Summers. Because you don't love him. He is a hitman, and you definitely do not love Billy Summers. He's a rough guy. But you do feel some compassion for him by the end. And there again, it comes back to, I think Stephen King just did a great job building the character and just building the situation he was in. So, with all that said, though, there were still some things I did not like. Now, one thing that I did not like, I would not say it's a spoiler, but you could say it's a minor spoiler, but one thing just did not make sense. A very specific storyline just did not make sense. It was about a certain girl and Billy Summers, and there was one aspect to it I did not like. Because the other parts, the storylines that with the girl and Billy Summers, I was fine with that. But there was just one particular aspect I did not like, and it felt forced, and I don't think he needed to do that. And there was, again, just one storyline I really did not buy into. Again, one specific storyline. Another thing that I didn't like was that he throws random politics in throughout the book. Now, this book was released, I think, in mid-2021. So it was written obviously then probably in like 2017, 2018, 2019 time. That was during Donald Trump's first presidential term. And Stephen King does not like Donald Trump. If you follow about him, you read things about him, he doesn't like Donald Trump, that's fine. I don't care. But he throws in politics randomly here. And it's the type of politics that it made my eyes roll. Like when you throw it in, like I don't care about Stephen King's political views, but it's like when you throw it in, it just made my eyes roll at times. An example being like he would talk about like criminals, and he'd be like the criminals who are wearing Trump shirts, and he would just do things like that. And there was over a dozen like anti-Trump things like that. If there was someone bad in there, it'd be like he was a Trump supporter, and he would just throw it in randomly. And it doesn't add anything to the story. To where after a while, it just was becoming annoying. That's what it became. It was like I just felt there was no point to throw in any political jabs because it was just annoying. I was just like, what's the point? It's not add anything to the story. So, those are some of the things I didn't like. You can see the book isn't perfect, but overall, I still felt this was a great book because he just did a great job of writing it. He had strong characters, fun storylines. It just keeps you interested, and it kept wanting to read it. You wanted to finish the book. So I think Stephen King just did a great job with Billy Summers overall. And I think if you like Stephen King, you like his writing style, I think you'll still like it, even though it's not horror. If you don't know about Stephen King, you don't want to read horror, I suggest Billy Summers. But let me give it my official rating now. So I always rate my books on a scale of 0 to 10. 0 is awful, 5 is average, and a 10 is phenomenal. If it gets anywhere near 10, put it on your reading list because I'm a very tough critic and it's hard to move even 1 point in my rating system. Remember, 5 is average. So 4, Billy Summers. I'm going to give this book an 8, which is a very strong rating in my rating system. But I'm giving it an 8 because I just felt he did strong characters. It was an intriguing plot, a fun plot. It flowed very well. And by the end, you're already done. It's a 500-page book, and you're already done. And I just think just the whole book was just very well presented and very well done. If you guys like my book review today, hit the subscribe button as I always upload multiple different book reviews. If you guys have any comments, have any questions, post it in the comment section below because I always love hearing your opinions, your questions, things like that. But thank you for watching my book review today. This is Mr. V. Go enjoy reading.